The kingdom of Lycaria had once been the pinnacle of splendor, a place where golden towers shimmered under the sun and the laughter of nobles echoed through the cobbled streets. But beneath the beauty lay a darkness, subtle yet potent, like a poison slowly spreading through the heart of the land. Elara Vera, the only daughter of House Valen, had grown accustomed to the fine line between loyalty and betrayal. Unlike the other noble girls, she was not swayed by frivolous gossip or the delicate games of charm. Her intellect and intuition had been honed from years of observing the world, and she had learned that true power often hid in silence. That fateful night, during the Crimson Ball, the palace glittered with hundreds of lanterns, and the soft murmur of nobles exchanging secrets. Elara glided through the crowd, her midnight blue gown catching every flicker of light, her eyes calculating, always watching. Across the hall, Kale Darren stood among the guests. His reputation preceded him. The enigmatic heir of House Darren, whispered to be ruthless, cunning, and untouchable. Yet there was a magnetic pull about him, a silent command of attention that few could resist. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the noise of the ball fell away. "Lady Elara," he said, his voice low, smooth, and dangerous. "I have been waiting to meet you." "And why would I care?" she asked, masking the quickened thrum of her pulse. Kale's lips curved faintly. "Because fate has a cruel sense of humor. Our lives are intertwined whether you like it or not." Before they could speak further, the massive chandelier above the throne room cracked violently. Shards of crystal and candles plummeted, screams slicing through the music. Masked assailants swarmed the hall. Chaos erupted. Lord Vera, Elara's father, fought with valor, but the overwhelming force of the attackers was merciless. In the confusion, Elara saw her family fall one by one. Amid smoke, fire, and terror, Kale appeared again, not to save her, but to pull her out of immediate danger. "You must come with me," he urged, his eyes sharp. "Your life depends on it." "My family," she cried. "They are gone," he interrupted. "And if you stay, you will die as well." Reluctantly, Elara followed him through the misty forest surrounding Lycaria. The night was thick, every snap of a branch sounding like a warning of unseen dangers. By dawn, they arrived at a hidden sanctuary known only in legends, the Haven of Shadows. There, the betrayed, broken, and lost had sought refuge for generations. Elara met warriors, scholars, and rogues all carrying the scars of deceit and betrayal. "You will train," Kale said, his voice firm, "not to forgive, not to forget, but to rise stronger. Revenge is a weapon, and precision is the key." Elara's days were consumed by training. Dawn to dusk, she learned to move silently, strike with precision, and strategize like a master tactician. Her body and mind were sharpened to perfection. Pain was constant, but so was growth. Kale's guidance was relentless. His methods were harsh but effective. In quiet moments, a subtle bond formed between them, a mix of respect, trust, and attention that neither fully acknowledged. Months turned into a year. Elara, once a sheltered, noble girl, now moved like a shadow in human form. Her eyes, once filled with innocence, now gleamed with determination. She had learned patience, cunning, and the art of observation. The storm that had shattered her past had forged a weapon capable of precision and lethal force. The world she once knew, the golden towers of Lycaria, the feigned smiles, the whispered alliances became a map of enemies, weaknesses, and opportunities. Every step she took was calculated, every plan meticulously crafted. Disguised and unseen, Elara returned to the capital. She infiltrated the circles that had orchestrated her family's downfall, sowing discord and manipulating information. Her enemies, unaware of her survival, made critical mistakes. Allies who had been silenced emerged. Inspired by the intelligence and ruthlessness she displayed, Kale remained at her side, guiding her through subtle maneuvers, teaching her the importance of patience. They executed operations with precision, exposing the conspirators' secrets and unraveling years of deception. Elara began to understand the depth of betrayal in Lycaria. Nobles she had trusted, advisors she had respected, were complicit in her family's annihilation. Her revenge would not be simple. It required careful orchestration, psychological precision, and unrelenting courage. The climactic confrontation approached. Elara discovered the location of the main conspirators, a secluded estate, where they celebrated their triumph, unaware that the storm they had created was about to turn against them. Elara and Kale infiltrated the estate under the cover of night. Shadows moved with her as she approached each target silently. Steel clashed in precise strikes. Every move, every step, was calculated. Her enemies underestimated her, and each of their attacks became their undoing. Those who had relied on arrogance and betrayal were met with skill, strategy, and vengeance incarnate. By dawn, all conspirators had been neutralized, their plots dismantled, their power broken. Elara stood among the ruins of the estate, her heart heavy yet resolute. The storm of revenge had passed, and justice had been served. Lysaria would remember her not as a victim, but as the crimson rose, the shadow that struck with precision and reshaped fate. Kale approached, silent and unwavering. Their hands met in a rare moment of connection, a bond forged in shared survival and understanding. Love, quiet yet undeniable, had bloomed in the shadow of vengeance. The kingdom of Lysaria slowly began to heal. Nobles who had once manipulated and deceived were held accountable. The people whispered tales of the crimson. Rose a woman who rose from ruin to reclaim honor, justice, and power. Elara and Kale watched the sunrise from the palace balcony. The sky blazed with crimson and gold, a symbol of endings and beginnings. The storm that had destroyed her past had forged her future, and for the first time, she felt peace. Weeks passed in the haven of shadows, each day blending into the next. As Elara's body became as sharp as her mind, she learned to move silently through forests, to read the slightest change in a man's posture, to anticipate danger before it arrived. Kale's training was brutal but precise, pushing her beyond every limit she thought she had. One night, under the pale silver light of a crescent moon, Kale brought her to the cliffs overlooking Lysaria. "Tonight," he said, voice serious, "you will face the trial that separates the weak from the strong. Are you ready?" Elara's eyes, fierce and determined, met his. "I've been ready since the day my family fell." The trial was simple in concept but brutal in execution. She had to navigate a maze of illusions and traps, each designed to exploit her fears, weaknesses, and regrets. Shadows twisted around her, whispering lies, threatening to break her resolve. But she moved with focus, striking down illusions one by one, until the final shadow revealed itself, a mirror of her own fears, her guilt over surviving when her family had not. "I will not let fear control me," she whispered. And with that, she shattered the illusion with a precise strike of her dagger. Kale watched silently from the edge of the cliff, pride flickering in his eyes. "You are ready," he said finally. Months later, Elara, now unrecognizable as the young noble girl who had fled, returned to the capital. Her disguise was perfect, a noble woman from a distant land, unfamiliar, yet impossible to ignore. She moved through the palace halls with calculated grace, planting seeds of discord among the very people who had destroyed her family. Every smile she offered concealed a dagger in waiting. Every polite bow was a calculated strike at their pride. Information flowed to her as allies, long forgotten, came to her side. Each act of deception, every whispered rumor, moved her closer to the ultimate confrontation. Kale remained by her side, unseen, guiding her steps. The tension between them was a silent current, their mutual respect and growing attraction, evident in subtle gestures, a hand brushing hers, a shared glance, lingering too long, a quiet laugh in the midst of danger. Elara's first act of revenge was strategic, surgical. She exposed a minor traitor in the court, someone who had underestimated her and betrayed his own allies. The fallout was swift and chaotic. Noble families turned on each other, old alliances crumbled, and whispers of the crimson rose began to spread. Her enemies began to fear shadows where none existed, second-guessing every move. And in the midst of this chaos, Elara's reputation as a ghostly figure of precision grew. Kale watched with a mixture of pride and admiration. "They will never see you coming," he said softly. "No," Elara replied, "but they will feel me." As the days passed in Lysaria, Elara wove her plans with increasing precision. The nobles were blind to her presence, yet every whispered word and secret meeting she orchestrated brought their downfall closer. Each minor betrayal she revealed sparked conflicts among her enemies, fracturing their alliances. She began to target key figures individually, one by one. The men and women who had orchestrated her Families' falls started to crumble under their own arrogance. Letters appeared in unexpected places, false rumors spread, and trusted advisors began to question each other. Lysaria was slowly drowning in the chaos she had created. Kale often reminded her, "Do not let your emotions guide you. Every step must be calculated." Elara nodded. Yet, beneath her steely exterior, the tension with Kale simmered. His presence had become both a comfort and a challenge. Moments of unspoken understanding lingered, brushes of hands, shared smiles when no one was watching, and nights spent discussing strategy that somehow left her heart racing. Disguised as a visiting noblewoman, Elara attended gatherings, balls, and council meetings, gathering intelligence. Every smile concealed razor-sharp intent, and every conversation became a chess move in her grand plan. At one lavish gathering, she confronted Lord Malvin, a key conspirator in her family's demise. He bowed politely, unaware of her identity. "Lady Elara, I had heard tales of your travels," he said. She smiled, a deadly elegance in her eyes. "Yes, tales of survival and fortune. Tell me, Lord Malvin, how fares your loyalty?" The subtle threat went unnoticed by others, but in Malvin's eyes, fear flickered. By morning, his closest allies had betrayed him, and he was stripped of his influence. Elara's power grew quietly, invisibly like the shadows themselves. Elara and Kale spent more time together outside of plotting. They trained, discussed strategy, and sometimes allowed small moments of respite. Despite the gravity of their mission, laughter and companionship found its way into their days. One evening, atop the palace gardens, Kale spoke quietly. "You have changed, Elara. The girl I first met is gone. What stands now is a force even I cannot fully predict." Elara's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "I am what Lysaria made me, but I am also what I chose to become." Their connection deepened, a bond forged in shadows, forged in shared pain and mutual respect. And in the quiet moments between planning and action, a delicate thread of romance began to blossom. Elara's time for direct confrontation approached. The final conspirators had gathered in the palace, celebrating their victories. Unseen, she infiltrated the halls with Kale by her side. Every step was measured, every move deliberate. As the night deepened, she struck. Minor guards fell silently, traps disabled, and alarms bypassed. Her targets, confident in their security, were unaware of the storm approaching. Finally, she reached the grand chamber, where the main conspirators had assembled. Shadows flickered as she entered, a ghost of vengeance and precision. The grand chamber was silent, the flicker of candlelight casting long shadows across the marble floor. Elara stepped forward, her figure tall and commanding, her dagger gleaming faintly under the golden glow. Every conspirator in the room froze, unaware that the young noblewoman they had dismissed months ago had returned not just as a survivor, but as an unstoppable force. "Surprised to see me?" Elara's voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of her family's suffering. Lord Malvin, the most arrogant of them, laughed nervously. "Who are you to speak here?" "You know me," Elara said, her eyes flashing. "I am the Crimson Rose, and tonight, justice blooms." With Kale at her side, the battle began. Steel clashed against steel, shadows darted like living creatures. Elara moved with precision, striking down those who had underestimated her. Each move was calculated, every attack intentional, leaving her enemies no chance to regroup. As chaos erupted, the other nobles tried to flee, but traps Elara had set months ago blocked every escape. Panic spread like wildfire. The conspirators realized too late that the girl they thought powerless had orchestrated every downfall meticulously. By dawn, the chamber was silent. The conspirators lay defeated, their plans dismantled. Elara stood among the ruins of their arrogance, breathing heavily, but triumphant. Lysaria would remember the Crimson Rose not as a victim, but as the force that reshaped the kingdom. Kale approached, his hand brushing hers. "You did it," he said softly, admiration and relief in his voice. Elara smiled faintly, the first genuine smile in months. "We did it, together." With the conspirators defeated, Lysaria slowly began to heal. Justice had been served, and the kingdom learned to fear and respect the power of those who survived betrayal. Elara reclaimed her family's honor, restoring House Valen to its rightful place in the kingdom. Life settled into a new rhythm. The people whispered tales of the Crimson Rose, a woman who rose from the ashes of tragedy, who wielded vengeance like an art, and whose strength reshaped destiny. Kale and Elara, now bound not only by survival, but by love, stood on the palace balcony. The horizon glowed in shades of crimson and gold, a symbol of endings and beginnings. They had faced the shadows, conquered them, and emerged stronger together. In that moment, the kingdom was no longer just a place of power and intrigue. It was a home reborn, a land ready to embrace the light after a long night of darkness. Elara, the girl who had walked through fire and shadow, had finally found peace and love in the world she had fought to reclaim.